I'm Dan Beals with Dan's Holloway. Let's prep for winter. Now, prepping for winter is all the time. You always have to be working on your business to try to be progressing it. But once winter is coming, you can't stop it. We live in Denver, snow happens, things happen. And from my experience just with winter in general is lots of things slow down because, who wants to drive in the snow? Who wants to go out in the cold? Who wants to get all bundled up? We really hunker down in the winter here in Denver. It's not that it shuts down. It's just that it's cold outside and we don't want to be out there. Now, how do we prepare for that? What do we do? And what are some predictions? I want to show those things, what we're doing, and what we're preparing for 2025. So it's been a year now since we've been starting to work with assisted living facilities and real estate agents. So those things we were planning on having more fruition for the year. But the thing is just because you plan it doesn't mean that it goes exactly the way it's planned. So we've been working at them. We're starting to see more of a payoff through them, but it's still a relationship that we're building. I feel that the assisted living facilities have really kind of started to take off at the current moment. And it's been about a year since I've been doing and going to all these assisted living facilities. We went into the new year focusing on furniture stores and then expanding to the real estate and the assisted living facilities. Those two extra ones didn't produce as much as we wanted them to over this past 6 months, but that doesn't mean that they're not working. It's just that it's a long-term game. It's a long-term game that we're trying to constantly work towards, okay? Those are the consistencies that we're trying to work towards going into this winter, okay? So we went from just assisted living facilities and real estate offices to, over the last few months, started working towards professional organizers, moving companies, religious congregations, just in general, trying to expand our scope into the same fields and the type of customer base that we're looking for, okay? Now, I do want to get into some predictions of things, some thoughts. What am I expecting through the winter? Do I expect like a slowdown? Do I expect, what is it that we're expecting? So I try to look at my previous year to understand what it is we're coming to, okay? Could we come into a hard winter? Could we come into just a normal winter? Going from last year, August, September, October were a consistent area, okay? It was consistent. It was $40,000 a month last year where we were consistently hanging around. And then when it came into November and December, where there are two major holidays, okay? We have Thanksgiving and Christmas. Now, you might not let me slow down here. We do still get plenty of business during the month, but what we saw last year was a 10% drop. Now that 10% can only mean that it was a couple of days that we didn't work, right? So Thursday for Thanksgiving, obviously we're shut down. We're not operating. We're not getting any business for that day. So there's zero revenue for that day, and we have a drop, right? And then the days surrounding that might be a little funky. It might be a little busy. It might be a little slow because we're getting close to Thanksgiving. And it's the same thing with Christmas. When it falls on a weekday, it's going to play an effect into the realm because we're obviously not going to be open for Christmas, and then we're going to be very minimal for the day before Christmas and the day after Christmas. So we got to pay attention to that, and that matters, okay? But we're going into this month, we're going to be somewhere between 60 and 70,000 in revenue for the month, and I'm expecting to stay there for September and October. I expect to have a similar 10% drop it down to maybe mid-high 50s for November and December, and then jump back up to the 60-70 range going back into January, February, and then getting another hike. But every single year, everything compounds. So if you go into the winter hitting it hard, and what I mean by that is all that extra time that you have is a key time to be hitting all these businesses and talking to them all the time, because they're slow too. Real estate, not a lot of real estate's going at that time. You know, people are still dying from these assisted living facilities. People are still moving into these facilities. People are still, you know, moving companies are slow. The religious congregations, they are continually going through their through the winter. That never slows down. But ultimately, even when they're slow and we're constantly in their face, once it's time for everybody to get busy, it's just going to be a giant ramp. Okay, so hitting the winter hard, going into it prepared for it, saving your money. Obviously, that's a big deal. Now it's easier said than done than just save the money, because what do you do if you come to a hard week and you need to pull from it? It just is what it is, what you have to do. But you just got to know that you are going to have some sort of slowing. It's not going to be a dramatic thing unless you don't do nothing. If you do nothing, it's going to be a dramatic decrease. But if you're constantly staying consistent, always pushing your advertising, always doing your reach outs, always finding your new prospects, that stuff is going to matter and is going to keep you consistent through the winter. Now, I want to hear how you do things. What do you do for the winter? How do you prep for things? Are you doing other aspects of business to try to supplement? Are you just all into this one thing? For us, this is it. There's no like handyman's business on the side. There's no like doing anything anywhere else. This is the only business that we are pursuing, and this is the only line of income that is pushing through. So we're constantly trying to grow this and not take our eye off the ball and put it into different things. So I want to hear how you do winter. I want to hear how you handle all this, and let me know in the comments.